My name is Eureka Douglas, and I'm with the Clarendon Parish Development Committee and the Office of the Custos. One of the main reasons we're having this meeting is in celebration of Parent Month and Drug Abuse Prevention Month. We also are on a campaign to build, as we call it, stronger parents for stronger communities. And for those parents who are a part of our parent group in Palmer's Cross, Maypen and Effortville, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So what we have been doing is trying to build the capacity, strengthen the parents in all three communities, so that we can form a stronger bond and a stronger network and enhance our skills just generally. So that said, in terms of an introduction, I'm going to ask persons to continue to log their name, put your name in chat, the name and the community you're from and the organization you're from in chat. We just want to welcome everybody thus far. And as is usual, I hope Mrs. Brown is there. Mrs. Brown, can I lay hands on you and ask you to pray? Mrs. Brown is one of our vice presidents, vice chairman for the Clarendon Parish Development Committee. So I'm going to ask Mrs. Ethel Brown if she can go ahead and lead us in prayer as we begin this meeting. Mrs. Brown, are you there?
Yes, Ms. Douglas. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ethel Brown. Let us pray. Our God and our Father, we thank you, Lord, for the gift of life. We thank you for opportunities like these for your people to come together to discuss issues that affect the development of our families and our communities, and by extension, our world. Lord, we ask that this evening's meeting will be interesting, and Lord, we will attend to what is being shared with us. And as we learn, like in James, we won't only be hearers of the word, but we'll be doers also. Lord, I pray for those who will present. I ask for clarity of thought and patience, so that as we listen and as we seek clarification, at the end of the evening, what was presented would be clear to us, and we'll be more empowered as parents, as caregivers in the various communities, to be able to assist in empowering especially our young people. Lord, be with us as we join together as a large community, as we celebrate Parent Month, and as we join the fight against drug abuse. We just ask for your intervention. Hear our prayers, we pray in your name. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Mrs. Brown. And as I said before, Mrs. Brown is one of our vice chairmen of Clarendon Parish Development Committee. And just to share with you, the Clarendon PDC, everybody, is really what we call an umbrella group. It covers quite a number of organizations and stakeholders, partners, who are just working together to ensure that we focus on positive and sustainable development. What we have been doing over the years is we have been looking at projects and programs that will benefit different communities at different times. And right now, what we are doing is we are working, as I said before, on looking at ensuring that we improve the skill sets of parents. It is said that when a child is born, that they don't normally come with an instruction booklet. We know that what we share with our parents, which what the parents share with their children is what probably you learned from your own parents or from your own grandparents or your caregivers. But we don't normally have an instruction booklet. And what is happening is that with each generation, which each decade, what we find is that there are new challenges and there are new ways. So what used to work for persons who were born in the 80s, in the 90s, in the early 2000s doesn't necessarily work right now. And that is why we really need to come together and share some of the best practices that we all know and really get to the nitty-gritty of things. Our topic for this evening is that we'll be looking at emerging drugs that are being used amongst our adolescents, our teenagers. The reason for this is that from what we have heard is that there are so many new drugs out there. Maybe a few years ago, all we knew about was heroin. We used to hear about marijuana or ganja. We used to hear about cocaine, but there are so many different things that are happening now. We hear about many things like edibles. Children are soaking gummy bears in rum and drink and taking that to school and having that. And so we have to make ourselves more knowledgeable, arm ourselves with the information so that we can help our children. So that is one of the topics that we want to deal with. That's the main topic. But we also have invited the representatives from the Clarendon Police Division to talk to us a little bit about what they are doing to help our communities as we get closer to Christmas and as we deal with some of the circumstances that are happening with our children. I was just on social media a little while ago and I saw a video blast of a young man, a little boy, trying to get into a classroom, almost pushing the teacher out of the way to throw a stone at a little girl, little children, primary school. And he was adamant. He went to the window and was throwing the stone. And the teacher was saying, no, you can't come in here. And the little boy was just trying to get to the little girl and was throwing stones, huge stones into the classrooms. And these are some of the things that we are dealing with. A lot of persons in the comments were saying, this is a young man that requires some intervention. This is a young man that requires help. And so we are saying to you that these things will happen. These things are going to be happening and people are going to say, oh, it's the parents' fault. Not necessarily. It's a number of factors that are impacting on our children. And so these are the different types of things that we have to discuss. We have to take that discussion a little further and see how best we can deal with them. All right, that said, I'm giving persons time to join. We have about 40 persons online right now. I'm going to ask Mrs. Clovelyn Smith-Morris, our chairman, if she just wants to say a few words before we get into the main discussion. Over to you, Mrs. Smith-Morris.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Mrs. Morris.
Okay, thank you. This workshop, seminar, come together, discussion, whatever title we want to give to it, is a very timely one, because the matter of drug use and the different types of drugs, and there are some very new ones, some that some of us might have heard of already and some that we have not yet. Is impacting negatively on our young people. And I venture to say young persons who are attending school, and we all know what that can do to their educational activities. And as leaders in our communities, I want to ask us to be observant, be aware, and to know that it still takes a village to raise a child, regardless of what anybody is going to say. we must all try to do our part to influence in a positive way our young people. And this seminar, workshop, meeting is very timely because it is arming us with information. It is providing us with information so that we can better able to help our young people. And so I just want to say to all of us who are present on this platform this evening, thank you very much for coming on, because it is an indication that you are ready and you are preparing yourselves, you're arming yourselves with information and hopefully skills to impart and to influence our persons. I just want to thank Ms. Douglas and the team for choosing such important topics. And I say topics because we dealt with one last week that was very, very important, and this one is very important. And also to invite the police to not only give us an update, but hopefully will give us some tips that will help us to keep safer during this season. So again, thank everyone for coming out on this platform. And as was said in the prayer, I am sure that we will benefit from this afternoon's activity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith Morris. Can we get a round of applause for her? Open your mic. Can I hear a round of applause? Can I get the emojis going? Thank you, thank you. I want to know that you're there, and that you're willing to participate. Excellent. Parents, I'm so glad that you have joined. As I said, I just want to single out those parents that we have been working with in the Maypen proper Palmer's Cross and Effortville area. I know we miss being able to see each other every Saturday. We had such a grand time the last Saturday we were together. But right now we're going to be concentrating on doing some online sessions. And of course, come January, we want to head right into the skills training programs. So I hope you have been contacting your facilitators to sign up for the programs. Some have started already in Palmer's Cross. They are doing micro entrepreneurship. So Palmer's Cross persons, or if any other is interested, they have started their sessions already. If you want to get in on those skills training sessions that we're having, we're concentrating on customer service, micro entrepreneurship, early childhood education. If you want to sign on to any of them, please get on board. As parents, as caregivers, as guardians, as grandparents, one of the things that we have to do is arm ourselves with skills that can make us very marketable and employable as we face this new world where we are forever in a competitive mode. One source of income cannot help you. You have to look at multiple sources of income now. So I'm just encouraging you, contact your facilitators. You know who they are. There is Samantha in Palmer's Cross, Samantha Akos. We have in Maypen, please contact one of the ladies from the office, Miss Mitchell, who else is there? Miss Mitchell Burrows as well. Just one of the persons in the office, just contact us and let us know what you're interested in and fill out the forms. For Effortville, contact Marianne or Amoy, as you know her, or Debian or Epsi. So let them know and let us get things up and running for January. Enough said, I've chatted enough. I'm going to hand over now to Miss Brown, and she is Miss Cheryl Brown. I've worked with Miss Brown before. I don't know if she remembered. We had another parenting project under the FHI 360 program in 2021, 2020, 2021. And she did share with our participants in that program. But she is working in this area with the National Council for Drug Abuse. And so it is very important for you to pay close attention to what Miss Brown will be saying. Sometimes our youngsters are living with us, they are interfacing with us every day, and we do not know what exactly is going on. The information that she's going to provide is vital. You need to be in the know. You need to have the information so that you can prevent some of the addictions that can be caused and the behaviors that can result from taking on drugs. So let's just listen keenly to what is happening. We'll have question and answers for, if you don't, we don't want to interrupt our presentation. So what I wanted to do is just to put the questions in chat or write them down. If you don't know how to use the technology very well, write them down, and so that when we get to question and answer, you can participate. So without further ado, we are going to invite Ms. Cheryl Brown to come forward. You have, I think you're one of our co-hosts, Ms. Brown. I know if you can go ahead and share your presentation. Ms. Brown, are you there? I think.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, let me just make sure. I think you do not have co-hosting rights. Let me just make sure. Thank you for joining us. We know it's a late evening, so we just want to say thanks for joining us this evening.
Okay, good night, everyone, and thank you so much for having me, Miss Douglas. And as said before, this is a timely topic that everyone needs to be aware of, the information concerning drug usage. All right, so to get started, we'll be looking at definition of drugs, the categories of drugs: tobacco, ganja, cocaine, alcohol, molly, and of course, whatever questions you have, I will try as best as possible to answer them. All right, so what are drugs? A drug is any substance, with the exception of food or water, when taken into the body, alters the body's function physically or psychologically. It affects the person's physical state, which is the body, and the mental state, which is the mind. So it changes the way your brain works, how you feel, how you behave, your understanding, your senses. Now, drugs can be natural or synthetic. It can be legal or illegal. And of course, it can be prescribed or non-prescribed. Now we have several categories of drugs. Stimulants, for instance. These are drugs like the cocaine, the amphetamine, the MDMA, which is better known as the molly, the caffeine, and the nicotine. And stimulants, these are types of drugs that basically stimulate mood, stimulate the processes of the body. Then we have the depressants. And one of the most popular depressants that you all know is the alcohol. And what this does is to basically slow down the function of the central nervous system. And of course, we have the marijuana. And one of the main effects of the marijuana is that it impairs attention. Impairment of attention processes and brain function. Then we have inhalants, and whether we want to believe it or not, we have certain things in our household which persons could categorize as drugs. For instance, the glue, solvents, gases, even the very nail polish. Those things are considered to be inhalants. And what it does is to depress the central nervous system the function, and it also blocks the passage of oxygen to the brain. Then we have opioids like the codeine, the heroin, the morphine, and these elevate mood, causes indifference as well as analgesia. Then we have hallucinogens such as LSD and Datura. What this does is to cause altered state of perception and feeling, and the users perceives things differently from reality. Now, to continue, we're going to look at some of the traditional drugs before moving into the quote-unquote emerging ones. So the first one we're looking at today is tobacco. True or false? Is tobacco illegal? What do you think? Is tobacco illegal? Anybody?
True.
It is legal.
It is legal, right? So it is legal. Very good. So tobacco has been used for centuries. It contains thousands of chemicals, and it is often said that it contains at least 7,000 chemicals. The main addictive substance in the tobacco is actually the nicotine. And the addiction, somebody say something? So the addiction produced by nicotine is as strong as that produced by cocaine or heroin. And it is one of the legal as well as social drugs. Now, the addictive nature of nicotine remains a global health epidemic. Over 3 million smoking-related deaths are reported annually worldwide. In the Western world, illnesses related to smoking is believed to be the cause of 20% of all deaths, making nicotine addiction the single largest cause of preventable mortality. And despite these grim statistics, tobacco use is increasing in many developing countries, with smoking-related mortalities predicted to exceed 10 million per year over the coming 30 to 40 years. What does the National Drug Prevalence Survey shows? Now, quickly looking at this, it shows that alcohol prevalence, and this was from 2016, so it's a bit old. The alcohol prevalence is highest among 25 to 34 years old, while the ganja and the tobacco is highest amongst the 35 to 44 years old. Though the 12 to 17, which would equate to around 297,000 odd, the prevalence appears low, which would translate to around 2 to 3%. Approximately 6,000 adolescents are using ganja and tobacco. This is what it is showing. But even so, I believe 6,000 is still too much. 6,000 is still too much. Now, significantly higher male use of tobacco in Clarendon compared to the national tobacco figure there. So what they're basically saying is that most in Clarendon, more persons are using tobacco than is reflected in the entire country. That is what it is showing. Now, whether we want to believe it or not, the average age of the first use of tobacco for males is normally between 15 and 16 years old, and later in females. The current cigarette use among females has remained the same since 2001, which equates to around 5%, and it has decreased by 5% among males. Tobacco is responsible for 11% of all non-communicable diseases, 3% of communicable deaths in Jamaica. And within the non-communicable disease group, we have the ischemic heart disease, which accounts for at least 324 deaths per 100,000 population aged 30 years and over, with 6% of these deaths attributed to tobacco. Also, cancer of the trachea, the bronchus, the lungs accounted for 31 deaths per 100 population aged 30 years and over, with 71% of these deaths attributed to tobacco. So just imagine 71% of the persons who die within this particular age range. Most of the deaths, that's 71% of the deaths, is linked to tobacco use. The proportion of deaths attributable to tobacco was almost 12% for men and 6% for women. So we find out that more men than women are using tobacco. Now, a lot of times persons think that it is only the nicotine which is in the tobacco, but as I said before, there are over 7,000 toxic chemicals that are found in the cigarette, because we all know that the cigarette, the tobacco, is what makes up the cigarette. So every time a person smokes a cigarette, all of these chemicals that you are seeing on the screen is basically entering that person. And a lot of persons don't know. So just imagine, for each cigarette that a person smoked, cadmium, which is a toxic chemical found in batteries, is going inside that person's system. Stearic acid, which is found in candle wax, is going inside. The hexamine found in barbecue lighter, arsenic, which is basically poison, methane found in sewer gas, acetic acid found in vinegar, ammonia, which is found in the toilet bowl cleaner, methanol, which is found in rocket fuel, toluene, which is found in industrial solvent. All of these chemicals are basically going inside a person's body. Now, what are the harmful effects of smoking? So it causes your heartbeat to become faster, causes high blood pressure. It can also cause dizziness, and the high blood pressure can actually lead to stroke. It can cause lung and heart damage, lung, mouth, and throat cancer. It can also cause stomach ulcers. It reduces sense of taste and smell, and it can cause chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Smoking can make it difficult for women to fall pregnant, and it can actually lower the sperm count. So males might have a hard time getting a female pregnant simply because of smoking. It can also cause them not to have, it can also cause males not to have an erection. And these are some of the effects. It can also cause increase the risk of gum diseases, tooth loss, as well as tooth sensitivity. Now, I always give this example to some of the children that I present to. Just imagine that a person is using a coal stove and they're in a room. After a while, the very walls of that room will become black. And that is exactly the same thing that happens when a person smokes. The walls of their lungs basically becomes black. And that is why it leads to the lung as well as the mouth and the throat cancer. Another chronic problem with smoking in general is shortness of breath. Now, I have had the occasion of counseling a lot of teenagers who will complain that they find it very hard to go on a football field and to play a game of football simply because they feel like their air supply is cutting off. Just the other day, one young man, in fact, came to me, 17 years old, and he said, "Miss, I noticed I cannot go on a football field and play a game of football like how I used to." And I said to him, "Do you know why?" And he said, "Miss, I have a feeling it's because I am smoking the tobacco." And of course, I confirmed this. So this is something that is serious, the shortness of breath. And when it gets to a chronic stage, this is where it develops into the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. And most times when a person reaches to that stage, it means that the lungs basically gone. A lot of times persons now have to start using oxygen tank to help them to breathe because the lungs is not able to support, it's not able to help them to breathe anymore. Now I'm going to play this video for you. Just tell me if you're hearing it.
I had
Are you hearing
chronic
it?
obstructive pulmonary disease, includes emphysema.
Yes, ma'am.
chronic bronchitis, and
So this is a lady who has chronic obstructive pulmonary disease.
I've had chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, includes emphysema, chronic bronchitis, and full-blown pneumonia. I have to run around with this cannula on my face. It tells everybody there's something up. And some of them are actually bold enough to ask, why is that? And I tell them, I just tell them straight out, it helps me breathe, and it's because I smoked. Instead of now trying to decide, okay, where can I smoke? When can I smoke? I've just put new things, and it's how much oxygen do I need? Where am I going? And it's always going with me. I'm used to, you want to go do something, you get in the car, you go do it, whatever it is, you're able to go and do that. But I cannot be without the oxygen. It goes with me. The option of taking off the air and continuing forward with me does not exist.
All right, so this is a lady who, as I said before, she has chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and just to be able to function, she has to walk around with oxygen tank. And the reality is that even after she might come off the oxygen tank for, or she has come off the oxygen tank for, whatever hours of the day, she can't really do much. That's the honest truth about it. Persons with this condition, even when they're off the oxygen tank, they can't do much because they get tired very easily, and they feel like they're always lacking air. Now I'm going to play this other one. This is a former smoker. Her name is Terry Hall. And it's just to basically show you what are the dangers, or how a person, what is the effect of persons who uses tobacco, who uses the cigarette.
I'm married, and I used to be a smoker. I want to give you some tips about getting ready in the morning. Lord, you're there. Then your hands read the Bible. And now you're ready for the day.
Now, if you look at how she looked at the start, pretty young lady, and this is what the smoking has done to her. I think she had lung cancer as well as throat cancer. If you notice, there's actually a hole in her throat where she has to have a device in there to help her to speak. And even so, you can hardly hear her because of the fact that she is her throat is basically damaged. And this young lady, she has died some years ago. What happens to your body if you stop smoking right now? So the good news is that within 20 minutes, your blood pressure will return to normal. In 8 hours, the carbon monoxide levels in your bloodstream will drop by half, and the oxygen levels will return to normal. In 48 hours, your chance of having a heart attack will begin its long decline, and all nicotine will have left your body. Your sense of taste and smell will return to a normal level. In 72 hours, your bronchial tubes will relax and your overall energy level will rise. In 2 weeks, your circulation will increase and it will continue to improve for the next 10 weeks. In 3 to 9 months, coughs, wheezing, breathing problems will dissipate as your lung capacity improves by 10%. In about a year's time, your risk of having a heart attack will have now dropped by half. In 5 years, your risk of having a stroke returns to that of a non-smoker. In 10 years, your risk of lung cancer will have returned to that of a non-smoker. And in 15 years, your risk of heart attack will have returned to that of a non-smoker. So that is the good news for persons who stop smoking. Another thing I did not mention was that smoking overall always causes a dry cough. So a lot of times you might witness persons who are smoking and they have this, this dry cough, and basically nothing is coming up. And when persons see that sign, it therefore means that a person's lungs is going as well as their heart. Now we're looking at the marijuana. Was brought to Jamaica in the 1840s by migrants. It has been grown and used in Jamaica for over 150 years. Exported illegally for many years. It is illegal, although socially and culturally acceptable in some places. Now it's green, brown, or gray, mixture of dry shredded leaves of the hemp plant, cannabis sativa. It contains over 400 chemicals, some unknown, some harmful, some beneficial when extracted. And I'm one of the persons who will say to you here and now that there are medicinal purposes of the marijuana. So for instance, I know the cannabis, which is a chemical in the marijuana, is good for glaucoma, as well as the asthma is good for asthma. The main ingredient, which is THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, it causes some who uses the drug to experience a calm, while it causes others to to be on a high. The scientific names for it is cannabis sativa, cannabis indica, and of course the street names: ganja grass, spliff, weed of wisdom, sensimilla, sensi, joint herb, kali weed. Those are some of the street names, and of course there are many more. Now, the short-term effects of the ganja. Persons say it causes them to feel calm and relaxed and sleepy. It causes the heart to beat faster. It slows down reaction time. It causes the throat and the mouth and the lips to get dry. It can cause the eyes to get bloodshot and the eyesight to blur. That is why a lot of times we see persons who smoke the marijuana, their eyes usually red. It clouds your sense of sense, it clouds your judgment, clouds your senses, impairs perception. It can also affect a person's motor skills and make driving more difficult. And of course, it can make a person more harder to focus, to learn, to remember things. And I have found out quite often in a lot of sessions that I do with a lot of young persons that one of the effects of the ganja is that they have a hard time remembering information, even though sometimes the information is about themselves, just personal information, and they have a hard time remembering information. So it definitely affects memory. And young persons, you know that if it affects their memory, then you know a young person will have difficulty in the classroom where they'll have a problem retaining information. Now, what are the long-term effects of smoking the ganja? It can also cause the throat as well as the lungs to become inflamed and irritated. It definitely causes shortness of breath, and it actually causes, it brings about a faster rate of picking up infections, ongoing cough, lung cancer, loss of memory. It lowers a person's ability to fight colds and flu. It can also lower a person's sperm count and movement. It can disrupt a person's menstrual period and ovulation. And the marijuana, it makes a person's heart work harder. So it normally beats, you know that a person's heart would normally beat about 50 to 70 times a minute, but that can jump to 70 to 120 beats or more per minute for 3 hours after the effects kick in. And it also raises your chance of heart attack or stroke. A lot of times when I counsel persons, you know, they will say to you, but miss, it's a medicine. And as I said to you, I agree that it does have medicinal benefits, but then I will say to persons how it is used. That is where what differentiates whether it's a medicinal benefit. And I say to a person that if you get up every day and from morning until night, one spliff after another, one spliff after the other, then it therefore means that that is not that would not be there would be no medicinal benefit in that. That for me is what you would call addiction, where the person cannot do without it. So they keep on using it. One spliff like the next spliff, like the next spliff, like the next spliff. That is addiction. Not only that too, but we have found out that really and truly for persons to get the medicinal benefit, it is never, I've never seen where it is ever suggested that the person should smoke the marijuana in order to get the medicinal benefit. It is always given in a different form, but not through the form of smoking for the person to get the medicinal benefits. Touching a bit on the cocaine. White powdery substance is not indigenous to Jamaica. It is obtained from or even before I go on to the cocaine, let me say from now, I'm going to touch a bit on vaping. So vaping is basically the use of the e-cigarette. Vaping as I said before, is the use of the e-cigarette. So when vaping came about, vaping was introduced to persons, or it was marketed in such a way as to say, listen, this will serve as an alternative for persons who want to stop smoking the regular cigarette or the regular spliff. But what research has found is that instead of this vaping doing that which they propose, what has happened is that there has become a dual increase. So you find out that persons are now smoking, they are doing the vaping as well as doing the regular cigarette, or they are doing the vaping as well as doing the regular spliff. Now, the vaping, it is so appealing, especially in its design. And this is why it grabs the attention of the young persons. So it comes in the form, some of them look like pens, some of them look like a thumb drive. So a lot of times parents will see their child using a pen and will think it's a pen, when in fact it's a e-cigarette. I remember one parent said to me, Miss, I always see my child with a pen using, but I became curious where one day I was passing somewhere in the house, and I saw the pen charging. And she said to her, I said, but pen can't charge. How comes pen can't charge? It's since we're charging pen. And on closer inspection, that was when she realized that it is not a pen, but it's actually an e-cigarette. So it is just designed that way to appeal to our young persons. Now it contains a cartridge in there which has fillings. So another appeal to the young person is that it comes in different flavorings, like you have the cherry, the strawberry, the blueberry, grape, pineapple. So it's young persons love these things and they think it's cool. But I will say to you that the same toxic chemicals, though perhaps of a lesser amount, that is found in the regular cigarette is also found in the vaping, in that filling. So the nicotine, for example, which is found in the regular cigarette, is also found in the vape. The THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, which is found in the ganja, is also found in the vape. And the same effects that the regular cigarette will cause, the same effects that the regular ganja spliff will cause is the same effects that the vaping will cause, even though it's vapor the person is taking in. So it's a person who uses it normally have dry mouth and throat, inflammation and irritation of the mouth and the throat. It also causes dry cough. It also causes shortness of breath. And over the long term, it can definitely lead to cancer. And of course, because it is vaping, the particles are smaller. So they are going inside the lungs, even way deep down inside the lungs, inside those little veins and so on, inside the capillaries, inside the lungs and so on. All right, so I'm going to touch now on the cocaine. White powdery substance, as I said before, is not indigenous to Jamaica, obtained from the coca plant, which is found mainly in Bolivia and Peru. The importation may have started during the first quarter of the 20th century, and it is not grown, although crack is produced in Jamaica. Faster heartbeats, so the effects of cocaine, faster heartbeats, heartbeat, causes the blood pressure to rise, body temperature to rise, causes persons to breathe faster. They find out that they can't sit still or sleep. They are very restless. They become more alert. And the short-term high, so when persons take it, it carries them to an extreme high. But afterwards, when they're coming down, then the long-term is that it's followed by deep depression, confusion. Also, persons who take the cocaine, they see changes in their sleeping as well as eating habits. It can also result in permanent lung damage because a lot of times persons are sniffing the powdery substance in through their nose and it's going down. So permanent lung damage, it can also cause holes and ulcers inside of the nose. Persons who uses the cocaine normally, their personality change and they become very violent and they are fearful of people and things. They see things that are not real, hallucination, and of course it can cause death from overdose. And I personally believe this is one of the most dangerous substances, the cocaine, because this is one substance where a person will sell the very television in their house. A television which might cost $100 or $1,000, they will sell it for all $500 just to get a small fix of that cocaine to keep them going. So they will do just about anything. They will steal, beg, whatever it is that they have to do just to maintain the habit of smoking, of using the cocaine. And I'm going to just show you this video just to show you what cocaine actually does to persons, how it changes their appearance, and drug usage on a whole basically changes the appearance of persons. So it causes persons to look older than their age. So I've had 17-year-old who look like a 30-year-old man, or a teenage girl will look very old. And it's all because of smoking, not just using the cocaine, but it's smoking of the marijuana or the tobacco. All right, we'll be looking at alcohol. So it's an integral part of the slave system and the sugar economy. Alcohol is a byproduct of sugarcane. Slaves were frequently given alcohol as part of their diet, interwoven with the history, culture, and social system. Socially and legally accepted drug, except for those under the age of 18 years old. So how do you know that somebody is using alcohol? You normally smell it on them. It causes impaired muscles or limb coordination. And we do know that how a person who is under the influence of alcohol and they reach to the stage where they are drunk or you say intoxicated, you know that their walk is not normally it's not normally a straight walk. So they swagger. Impaired judgment, slurred or slow speech. And because of impaired judgment, this is why it is always said, don't drink and drive, because the reality is that when a person drinks and drive, it hampers their judgment. So when they think that when perhaps they need to avoid a vehicle or they need to swerve to avoid getting hit by a vehicle, by the time they realize that it's too late, and so the accident would have already occurred. So this is why it has always been said, don't drink and drive. Also, the reality is that if a person drinks and drive and they go to the hospital, most times the doctors cannot administer the medication right away, because if that medication is administered right away and it reacts with the alcohol that is in their system, then it can basically shut their body down, poison their body and shut it down. And I know a lot of you will admit to getting medication from the doctor to take or from your pharmacist to take, and on it you will see on it no alcohol drinking, because they know that if you drink alcohol with that medication, that is likely to be the last of you. I don't know how many of you on this feed were privy to see or to hear of about the news about this young lady who some weeks ago now, who when she turned the age of 21, she decided that she was going to have 21 shots of alcohol. Needless to say, she won't live to see her 22nd birthday because the alcohol would have caused her death. Now, I'm assuming that she was not even used to taking the alcohol. So just imagine dumping all that alcohol into her system, and then it would have caused her heart to start beating faster than norm. And then afterwards, it would have perhaps increased her pressure and then thus causing her body to collapse and to result in her death. And this is why we say to young persons, be careful. The holidays upon us, the Christmas season. I know it's normally a season when persons decide that, okay, they are going to drink and so on. But, you know, exercise caution during this season, and let us even, you know, put the alcohol drinking on a minimal. Not only that too, but even as I mentioned, even before I go there, one of the effects of alcohol drinking is that intense alcohol drinking can actually lead to damage to the liver. And it can result into the liver tissues becoming scarred and a condition called cirrhosis of the liver. And this cannot be cured. It cannot be cured. So a person basically lives with this condition until the day they die. It can be treated, but it cannot be cured. It can also cause faster and weaker heartbeats, confusion, lack of concentration, sick stomach and vomiting, and the mood changes quickly to violence and depression. And of course, you have seen where alcohol can also result in effects on the family. So a lot of times you will find where a partner who is using the alcohol, where that money should be taken to run a household, to take care of the family, to take care of the bills in the household, that money is now spent at a bar or it is spent paying a bar bill or to help maintain that habit. And a lot of times, whether we want to believe it or not, a lot of persons in Jamaica who you would say are workers, workers in Jamaica, they work by day, but they live in the bars at night. And sometimes the reality is that they have an alcoholic problem. Sometimes the bosses or supervisors who are in charge of them might not know this. There was one young man who I happened to interact with, and every now and then he would have to call in to his workplace and tell them that he is going to be absent, and he would make up an excuse. And at the bottom line of it, it was just because he was having a hangover because he spent the whole night drinking. And so in the morning, he was not able to go to work. So he had to call in and just give them an excuse. And I don't know how many persons have heard, but a trend here in Jamaica now is where a lot of persons, the gummy bears that are being sold, vendors are taking the gummy bears and are soaking them in rum and are selling it to our children. And so they change the name from gummy bears now to rummy bears. So you find out that a lot of that is going on. And so I am pleading with the parents online, warn your children to be careful who it is that they buy things from. Don't be so quick to buy from vendors. It's best they go to like a supermarket or a mini market and pick up gummy bears if they want it, because a lot of persons are doing some really, are doing some really unscrupulous or horrible things. And these are bringing about damage or harmful effects to our young persons. Now we're going to look at the Molly. Molly, better known scientific name for is methylene deoxymethamphetamine. Let me repeat that. Methylene deoxymethamphetamine. It's a very long word. So the shortened form for it is Molly. Comes in normally a tablet as well as a capsule, and very creatively decorated. So if on it you notice it has some cartoon-like characters on them. Some of them even have like the Mercedes-Benz logo on it or the Nike logo. So it's very appealing. Comes in different colors. As you can see, blue, green, yellow, pink, purple, orange, you name it. Now, I will say to persons that it's a laboratory made drug. So let me say that from now, it is made in the laboratory. And as I say something further, say for instance, I go out and I purchase Molly from A, and another person goes out and they purchase Molly from B. My Molly from A might contain a different set of substance than the Molly that a person buys from B. So no Molly is likely to be the same or to have the same set of substances. And from where it is produced, by the time it gets here to Jamaica, a lot of times persons have added other things to the Molly. Now, some of the chemicals that are found in the Molly is cocaine. Now, I already said to you, I already told you the different effects of the cocaine. So the cocaine is one of the chemicals that is found in the Molly. The bath salts that you use is also found in the Molly. Another drug which is called PCP, ketamine, is also found in the Molly. The Molly produces psychedelic effects similar to the hallucinogen mescaline and LSD. MDMA first became popular in the nightclub scene at raves, at the all-night dance parties and the music festivals and concerts. And it is now used by a broader range of persons. And if you notice, it is basically popularized by our artists here in Jamaica. So a lot of the young persons will gravitate unfortunately, to using this drug simply because their favorite artist has sings about it or is using it. The drug effects lasts for 3 to 6 hours. Now, MDMA is a Schedule 1 substance, which means that the US government has determined that it has no medical benefits and a high potential for abuse. Researchers, however, continue to investigate the possible medical benefits, for example, with patients that have post-traumatic stress disorder. So a lot of research is still going on for persons who have PTSD, that this could be a possible help to them. But even so, let me caution, the MDMA, the MDMA by itself, yes, that might be good for the person who is using, who based on research, that might have potential benefit for the person who have the post-traumatic stress disorder or terminal cancer patients with anxiety. But remember that by the time where it is made and by the time it gets to where we are, the amount of things that are added to it, then there would be no medicinal benefit at that level, because persons would have now tampered with it and added other things. And even though, let me say from now, even though they are saying that it might have a possible, please remember, a possible medical benefit. So it is still ongoing research. And as I rightly said, the molly that we use or that persons are using, that molly does not have any medicinal benefit, but the MDMA in its pure form will have it. But the molly that we use would not have a medicinal benefit. So what are the effects of MDMA? It increases the heart rate and the blood pressure, causes muscle tension, teeth clenching. It lowers inhibition. So people do things and make decisions that they would not normally do. I don't know how many of you were privy to see some weeks ago, or a month or so ago, a young lady who was using the MDMA. I think she was in a bank and she was just carrying on and, you know, dancing and just getting on. And persons were basically mocking and laughing at her. And this is what the molly does to persons. It causes them to just act weird and they don't realize that they are doing so. And because it lowers inhibition, it now leaves persons open to danger. So I have always said to persons, when you go out, be careful who you take a drink from. When you go out and if, for instance, you leave your drink on the table and you go to the bathroom, don't be so quick to come back and consume it. I happened to go to a school and a young lady said to me, but miss, if I come back and I see the ice look a particular way, it therefore me said the drink is okay. And the reality of this is that when you come back from the bathroom, nobody's going to check on ice to see how it's going to look. A person is going to just gulp down the drink. And this is where we say to persons, be careful. Because when the molly or the tablet goes into that drink, it is going to dissolve and a person is not going to know that it is in there. Normally, they use the molly with the alcoholic drink. So it's two drugs that will be working there, not just the molly, but the alcohol. So just imagine that. So I have heard of reports where a lot of persons who have used the molly have ended up because it lowers inhibition and they're unaware of what is going on around them. It has led to kidnappings, it has led to sexual abuse. And you know, for women, it can lead to pregnancy if they are raped. And normally the rape is in a gang-related rape. Also, it can cause eventually persons to have STDs, AIDS, syphilis, gonorrhea, you name it. And it all starts from just use of the molly. It causes persons to feel nauseous and can also cause vomiting, blurred vision, dizziness and fainting, It can also cause chill or sweating. It causes your body temperature to become extremely high, which leads to serious damage to your heart, your liver, kidney, and it can also lead to swelling of the brain. Now, just imagine you're taking a pill and this is what it is causing your body temperature to rise. So it's not a normal fever that the person is having. It is not a normal fever that the person is having, but the person's body temperature is increasing simply because of the use of this drug. And to make matters worse, a lot of them are using it in a scene or in a setting where it is in the dance hall, and so they are gyrating, carrying on, and it's a scenery or setting that generates a lot of body heat. So just imagine what they are doing to themselves just by taking the substance. It also increases the risk for unsafe sex. A lot of times when persons take it, they just feel like they just want to have sex. They just need to have sex. And I've heard of stories where persons have taken it and they start taking off their clothes because it causes them to have that urge for sexual contact. Researchers are not sure if MDMA causes long-term brain changes or if such effects are reversible when someone stops using the drug. However, studies have shown that some MDMA users experience problems that are long-lasting, including confusion, depression, problems with memory and attention. So yes, the effects of the immediate effects of the MDMA or the Molly will last for at least a good 3 to 6 hours. But after that, the long-term effects, so it's like it takes them to an extreme high and then it takes them to a deep low. And when that happens, you'll find that long-term effects, even weeks after a person has finished using the Molly, it will result in confusion, depression, memory problems, as well as having problems concentrating or keeping focus.
Maria have me away na mali me sit down on the ground and ball in a mama madam.
All right, so this was basically a young lady and how she was carrying on because of the fact that she took the Molly.
Remember these pictures. This is a teenager who nearly died after taking that club drug called Molly. Well, she is finally out of the hospital, thank goodness, 11 days later, and Bianca Garten tells us she hasn't fully recovered yet. She told our Lindsay Watts she wants all of us to see what can happen with one bad decision.
I can't really talk anymore. I have scratches on my throat.
She's finally shed her hospital bracelet, but the damage to her body?
I just know it ate away my muscles. I lost a lot of weight just from taking that drug. It shouldn't have done that.
It hasn't gone away.
Oh, geez.
Bianca Garten thought she was buying Molly at this rave in Denver.
I've done it multiple times, so I thought, this is safe.
What she got, she thinks, was a drug laced with pipe cleaner and who knows what else.
It got to the point where I could barely walk.
From barely walking to barely breathing. This is what Bianca looked like just a week and a half ago. Her dad says she died twice and had to be resuscitated.
I've never seen my dad cry the way that he did. I think we got everything.
After a quick trip home, she's headed to rehab now, taking a month-long break from her senior year to recover.
The facility that we chose to put her in focuses a lot on why she did this and anxieties. She didn't make a good decision, but she's not a bad kid because of it.
The family says they're making this private struggle public for one reason. So you'll share this with the kids in your life. Show them what can happen and maybe prevent a tragedy.
It's not worth it. I'm just glad to be healthy and alive.
Lindsay Watt, 7 News.
And we're glad she's doing okay. And our Call 7 investigators, they found that Molly use is on the rise here. The Rocky Mountain Poison Center says the number of calls it's gotten.
All right, so if you notice, this is what this young lady went through. And if you were reading the caption, you would have found out that her Molly was actually laced with pipe cleaner. So just like what I said, by the time, wherever it was produced from, by the time it gets down to the persons in the streets, a lot more chemicals have been added to it, and he knows what it is that persons are actually taking. And as I said to you, if I buy a molly, my molly might be different from another person's molly, containing different set of substances in there.
Remember
So, this is just a story of a lady who took the molly tablet, and I'm just going to read it to you. So Maxine, a 26-year-old woman, said she quit using the drug after a few months because of the effects it had on her body. I first tried molly over a year ago. I was hanging out with some friends and I was having a very hard time at work, and they said, well, why not try this? I was curious when they described some of the things that happen when they take it. So I was like, why not? So I did, and it was an interesting experience. The first things that happen is this kind of emotional release, she recalled. I never bought it. It was never my money. I just know that the pills used to show up. I don't know where they got it from. She said that each time the drug wore off, she would become increasingly uneasy. It doesn't make you feel hungry. So the next day I would have nausea. You want to throw up and can't throw up because you didn't eat. So I would have nausea and headache. And for me, this would continue 2 or 3 days and sometimes 4. And I don't like feeling nauseous. There were also painful and disturbing grinding of the teeth. When I realized the side effects with the grinding of the teeth and the nausea, I didn't want that and I didn't like it. The grinding, I didn't like that. I didn't like the side effects. And I didn't like that I didn't have control of my body. I realized that this was just something I was doing to myself, and the side effects lasted way too long. So the lows were too low for me. So I stopped. I didn't have any withdrawals and I didn't have anything like that. I still hung out with the friends. So even when they were taking it, I didn't. I hated the side effects so much that compelled me not to take it anymore. So that is just what a person experienced in a nutshell with the molly. Just weeks ago, I remember a parent reached out to me and the parent said to me, Miss Brown, my son got suspended from school. So when I investigated and I found out from the son, he said to me that a young lady came to school and gave him a tablet to take. So he said that the little girl said to him it was sleeping pill. So when he took it, I asked him, how did he feel? And his exact words to me was, Miss Brown, I felt high. And I said to him, son, you did not get sleeping pills because sleeping pills do not cause a person to feel high. More than likely, what she gave you was the molly. And so this is an appeal to parents. Tell your children not to be gullible. That, persons that when they come, persons offer them stuff and they just take it like that. So sit, educate them, talk to them about these things, show them the effects of it. Talk to them, let them be aware, because the reality is that it is used widely out there and persons are offering it to your children. So what we do as an agency at the National Council on Drug Abuse, we basically do treatment. So we offer counseling sessions to persons who are using drugs with the intention of helping them to stop using it. And we also offer intervention programs. So we have several intervention programs in schools at all age level. We have programs from persons from grade 1 right up to 5th form or even 6th form. We have Step Up program, which is basically a group session. This is for persons who are using it, and we put them in groups and we counsel them. We also have programs like the Operation Lighthouse, which is basically a family-based intervention targeting both the parent as well as the children, with the intention of providing them with various life skill building techniques as to how to improve their life. So we look at stuff like stress management, conflict management, how to make proper decisions, how to solve problems, how to resist peer pressure, all with the intention of getting persons to resist using drugs. So these are some of our programs: the Read Junior for persons 5 to 7 years old, the Read Minor, Rory's World, 8 to 11 years old, Strive, the Read Plus, which looks at both substance use as well as along with HIV. They have the Taught the Truth, and of course they have the Operation Lighthouse program. And this is where I end. Any questions, please?
There are 1 or 2 questions, Ms. Brown, I see in the chat. I think the first one was a comment from Tracy and Cameron. She was saying that she thought the video of the girl in the bank was a joke.
No, it was not.
Unfortunately, sometimes we see these videos, and because, you know, persons are doing these little skits on TikTok and so on, but they're not always a joke.
No, it was not a joke. No, it was not. No.
And that unfortunate situation with the young lady who died at 21 celebrating.
Yeah, right. Yes, yes. Yeah. And you know, these are things that we hear about on the news. We hear about it and it's real. This is what is actually going on. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the other question here, is Molly the same drug as the one that they call ecstasy? Don't hear about the ecstasy anymore.
It is basically the same. It's just that the ecstasy would be what you'd call like pure MDMA, where the Molly would have different other types of chemicals in there, but it's basically the same drug. Yes, it is.
The Molly is more like the colloquial, the little lingo.
Right. So it is the same. Yes, it is.
And it is sometimes mixed, as we saw in the video, mixed
with other substances. And so from, you know, where it is made to where it reaches us on the market here, it has other things added to it. Like the young lady, she had pipe cleaner in her own. So just imagine they put that in there.
Any other questions? I see a hand there. Somebody saying well done. Any other questions? Please.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
Isn't with all the effects of smoking, isn't secondhand smoking even more dangerous than the smoking itself?
Well, you know, you're definitely right. The secondhand smoking, this is where persons are smoking and they are around other persons and they're inhaling it. So you are right, sir, and it can definitely lead to lung problems as well as cancer and so on. So it is, you are right, it is just as dangerous. And there's also third-hand smoking. So third-hand smoking is also the one where, for instance, you're smoking in a room and you leave from out of the room and another person goes in and they can know that you are smoking in there simply because the scent of the cigarette or the tobacco or the ganja is on the sofa, it is on the curtains, you know, it has been absorbed. So it is dangerous, the secondhand smoking. You are definitely correct about that.
Yeah, and I think as parents, as caregivers, we have to be cognizant of that. You might be inflicting a harm on the persons in your home by just
smoking around them.
You might say it's not affecting you, but you are smoking around your children, you're smoking around the elderly. It is not advisable.
That is so true, ma'am.
All right, any other questions? Any other concerns? Anything that you see, any trends that you want to share that you see happening in your schools, at home, in your communities?
Another thing that I want to mention too is that there has been an increase in like edibles. So I know I mentioned about the rummy bears, but a lot of times too, persons are also using ganja cakes or puddings laced with ganja. So teenagers, be careful. Like recently, I remember school reached out to me where the guidance counselor saw a lot of the students falling down And when she went and she investigated, just to find out that all of them had consumed pudding, which was laced with ganja. So a student brought it to school and was basically sharing it with other students in the class. And this was the outcome. Students were fainting away. So, you know, parents, warn your children not to be quick to take stuff like cakes and puddings from people and as well as brownies or cookies, because there are persons out there who have put other substances in there and they're selling it to them.
Yeah, and to add to that, I was online last night for no apparent reason, but I saw a video where somebody was sharing how to add ganja, how to soak it and add it to Alfredo sauce like a pasta dish. So it's not only in baked products, it's now in everything. So we have
In
to be
everything,
very
yeah.
And this was a recipe available online to anybody.
Everybody, yep.
All right, so there are some other questions in chat. So somebody was saying these programs, how can we get through to them, please? And I think it's the programs that you mentioned last in terms of the programs in schools and so on. So say, for example,
I can leave my number and you can make contact with me if you're in the Clarendon region.
Okay, so I'm hoping we have some principals online, some guidance counselors. I forgot to tell you that we have quite a few guidance counselors and principals online, teachers. So please do share so that they can invite you to their school. All right.
I just put my number in there.
All right. So the number is there, 876-504-5418. Please take a note. And another question, how prevalent is Molly now? Is Molly in schools? Molly use in schools?
I don't have an exact statistics on that because I know that months ago we did a rapid assessment survey. So it was more of a qualitative than a quantitative survey. But based on what we have heard from schools, from persons on the street, we know that it is being used widely. I cannot say, I don't want to commit myself to give you an exact statistical, figure to say, okay, this is it. I don't want to do that, but I know that from what we have heard, it is widely used by a lot of the students in the school. And shortly we'll be doing a more rigorous survey which will be able to answer to that question.
I was in a presentation that was made nationally to JPs, and what I saw there was that there are actually drug parties.
Yes.
So there were flyers that they were showing us that can be found on Instagram and so on, where persons were advertising drug parties in the corporate area and in Portmore.
Yes.
There are these things really happening, I mean, blatant right there in your face.
Yes, yes.
Are attending drug parties. And
It
I thought it
is.
was something abroad, and so they were saying, no, it's right here in
It's
Jamaica.
right here in Jamaica. It is. And as I said before, it is, as I said before, it is used in the dancehall scene.
Yes.
So, like I alluded to, that one of the effects of the molly is that it causes person's body temperature to spike. So I said a lot of times when persons using it, it's not just yes, the molly causes the temperature to spike, but then the body heat and the gyrating and the carrying on and the dance and all of that in the party scene causes that body temperature to even become extremely high. And this is why a lot of persons who use it, it can be very dangerous for them, as well as it leads to a lot of abuse right there at the party and even after the party. So it is prevalent at the parties, and they normally mix it with the alcohol to normally mix it with the alcohol, because that at the party scene people don't really drink orange juice and cranberry water. What they drink is alcohol, so they mix it with it, or it is put in there.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So the next question is, when you smoke marijuana, how long does it take to come out of your system completely?
Well, it normally take around a month, 30 days. It can be a little bit more, but for most of the times, it comes out within at least 30 days, a month, 4 weeks. It might take a little bit longer, but for the most part, 30 days, 1 month.
Oh, that's a very long time.
Yes, it is. It is. And, this is why sometimes it's very difficult. Especially when you're doing a drug testing and then you'll find out that the person wants it to be out of their system, just to find out that after 2 weeks it is still there. But 30 days, that is when it would actually come out. So a person has to stop using it within a 30-day period, a month, 4 weeks, for it to be out of their system. And that alcohol is just a couple of hours. Around 8 to 10 hours or 6 to 8 hours. And the Molly is around 3 to 6 hours.
Okay. But the long-term effects in terms of damage of the brain and the liver.
Yes, the long-term effects are there and so on. But as I rightly said with the tobacco, remember I showed you that what happens to a person when, they stop. So if they stop, then the effects that they are normally likely to have decreases.
Okay.
So somebody is saying, do you think the media and the songs are swaying our children negatively? Well, I did address that, and I said to you that it is. A lot of the usage of the Molly and the especially the Molly and other, medication or other drugs, they are popularized by our artists. And it says, what do you think can be done about this? I know since of late, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, the government started to clamp down on the type of music that was supposed to be airplayed. And I do hope that this is something that can become a serious initiative where we do more in terms of clamping down on the quote-unquote violent type of music, or the type of music that would boast about drug usage. So I think it would have to come from a government perspective where stuff like this is really enforced and done, so that persons can be aware, or persons can know that, listen, this is serious. You can't just go on air and just sing about this thing, because the moment you do it, you have an impact on the children who are who admire or who love these artists. So, I think it has to come from the government, where they clamp down a lot on these artists and what they sing about. And of course, definitely, parents need to play their role in just educating their children about the harmful effects of the substances, so that their child will become more aware and they won't be so gullible, that even though, yes, things are going on around them, but because of their awareness, they won't be so susceptible to the dangers that is going on, and they'll be able to say, listen, no, I won't take this, or no, this is not good for me.
That's it for us. Thank you, Miss Brown. Thank you so very much.
Thank you
for
having me.
Yes, I'm sure you're going to get some calls coming out of
not a problem.
Tonight.
Not a problem.
As we try to set up preventative measures and ensure that we have some strategies to keep our children and our young adults away from some of these drugs.
Yes.
Right? So thank you so much again. We have another presenter, so I'm going to just move quickly into that. So I'm hearing very informative presentation. So the next presentation is going to come from DSP Howen Brown, and he's going to just tell us a little bit about how we can keep ourselves safe, how we can keep our children safe as we move into the Christmas period and we get into Christmas holidays. We want to ensure that we keep our children safe and keep them prepared to go back into the school community. So for ourselves and for our children, we just want to introduce DSP Brown and ask him to go ahead and make his presentation. Please make him feel welcome. Open your mics, tell him welcome, or send out your emojis.
Thank you very much.
I'm not seeing the emojis in order.
Welcome, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night to you all. Thank you very much.
Welcome, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all. Thank you all.
Welcome, Mr. Brown.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the emojis too. I do feel welcome. Let me hasten to say I have really enjoyed the presentation. I had a little delay coming in, but I'm happy I got here on time so I could have gotten at our previous presentation. Very well put together and very, very, very informative. I want to say to us that, you know, and I want to applaud to Ms. Douglas and her team at the CPD for the tremendous work you've been doing to ensure that our people are educated, that we understand what's out there, that we seek to do everything to protect ourselves, to protect our young people. For those who are on the line and you are church people, I'm going to encourage you, please, to heaven say, pray, because there are some persons out there who are evil. They have absolutely no good intent for our children. They're out to destroy our children, and we have got to do everything to protect them. You know, I underscore the point that, you know, marijuana has a whole heap of different chemicals, but we are abusing it. And just to say quickly that the abuse is causing a serious problem in the parish, from the schools to the communities, you name it. The boys who are becoming disruptive, the children in general who are becoming disruptive in the classrooms are those who are mainly on marijuana, because it's a behavioral modification drugs, and it is causing havoc among our students. But those who are in custody, because just in case we think that it's just about using it in school and then that's it. Using it will lead to you not having an education. And when you leave school without an education, you then become a prime target for the gangs. And when you become a prime target for the gangs, it leads to your death. Are you being incarcerated? Most of those who are in custody today are persons who have been on marijuana. It is deadly, it is dangerous, and it is destroying our nation. Already as a parish, we have killed over 80 of our persons since the start of the year. Though we're a little behind where we were last year, but it's just too many. And one of the contributing factors to the high level of homicide in our parish is marijuana use or drug in general. Right? People are at party, they are drugging up, and they're killing each other. With an instance only last week that happened, unfortunately, one of the persons is a member of the constabulary. 2 persons were shot and killed at party. And I can bet you that the contributing factor is the use of drugs. I want us to take this presentation this evening very seriously, and we try our very best to get our children, if they have started, please get them to the doctor where they can be tested and that the substance can get out of their system before it becomes too late. Because when it gets into that bloodstream, it's gonna be deadly. And we are tired. We are kind of tired as police officers. We take them into custody. We are hunting them down when they become gangsters. And you know, it just sometimes gets so dead. I want us to understand it. I'm just saying that because I want to underscore the seriousness of this presentation and what it is that we can do as a people to protect ourselves, right? So Christmas is in the air, you know, and it's the time of year when we get pretty busy, when we go out to do our shopping, and everybody just loves Christmas. I love Christmas too. We've already been dispatching additional persons in the streets, that's in the township, Maypen in particular, because thousands of people traverse the streets of Maypen ordinarily. And in Christmas, that probably rise probably twice, if not 3 times greater. It means, therefore, that our numbers as police officers will have to be increased. And so we're going to be reducing on our internal officers. So those who are in the offices, so they will be dispatched into the streets to ensure that persons can go about their business and do so in a safe environment. I must tell you this, though, that with the increased number of police officers, we still do not have enough police officers to ensure that you will always be okay. Because the thieves will try to look at the loopholes, will try to look at the weak areas and try to strike. So it means, therefore, that as a customer, you will have to do some things to make yourself a very hard target. One of those things we encourage you not to do is to carry around large sums of cash. You don't want to be going around in the town of Maypen with thousands of dollars in your pocket, in your wallet, in your purses. So put it in an account and get a card. Use your card instead. It's much safer. If you have to do large transaction and you think that, boy, cash is the route you want to go, or the person at the other end prefers cash rather than a bank check, what's it called again? Or for the money to be transferred to his or her account, and you really want to do the transaction, then we ask you to come to the police station. We will give you a space, a safe space, where you can do the transaction. And we'll ensure that after you have completed the transaction, that you are escorted out of the space in this discreetly, not conspicuously, where everybody sees and knows that, well, oh, money, personal leave, right? So it's discreetly, where you are at least taken to a safe spot where you can leave the parish or you can go home, or if you're going to take the money and lodge it in an account. But we encourage you not to do large cash transactions. If you have to go buy stuff, put the money in an account and use your card. For persons who are in construction, and I know that you may be on the site and people want the money, and so you have to go to the bank to withdraw and then to pay people. We encourage you. A lot of the construction sites that we have gone to, and they are adhering, they are now ensuring that their workers have opened accounts and that the monies are being transferred directly to their accounts so they can use their cards and go draw their funds. Instead of coming to the bank to draw $2-3 million and then go back in an office to sit and check it out and then go pay people, you're making yourself an easy target for the criminals, and you want to prevent that. For persons who love to wear jewelry, coming into Maypen Town Center, we've said it over and over, that jewelry, especially gold in Maypen, gives you cash as fast as an ATM card. So you just want to say gold and somebody say how much? And they'll negotiate a price for you right away and give you your cash instantly and you're gone. So therefore we ask you, if you love to wear your jewelry, please try and go easy when you're in the town center to make yourself less attractive to the criminals. Your expensive phones, you don't necessarily have to use your expensive phones in the street where everybody see that you take out $150,000 worth of iPhone. Right? So you use it discreetly and put it away. You're carrying your handbag, don't just flash it behind you. And you're walking without any care. Keep it under your arm and in front of you so you can see everything. Don't leave the zipper behind you so they can pull the zipper, get in your bag, take out everything, and you don't even concern. Avoid every crowded areas. This is where you're likely to be robbed. You don't even know because it's heavily crowded and everybody's brushing on each other. So it won't be unusual to you if somebody brushes onto you. But avoid those heavily crowded areas so that every little move you can monitor. And once you suspect that something is happening, please become alert. Don't take it for granted. Your Sixth sense will tell you something. Don't take it for granted. If you have developed a suspect for someone, treat it as such until it is proven otherwise. Right? It doesn't matter how he's dressed. Could be the neatest person in his shirt and tie in his jacket, right? And you suspect that he could be trying something. Keep it so until you have proven otherwise. We've got to be very careful, just as though we are set out to go do our business. It's the same way the guys have gotten up in the morning and set themselves out to hunt today, and they will look for soft targets to prey upon. Make yourself as hard as possible by not exposing yourself in any way, shape, or form. We've had a lot of robberies where people have gone to the bank, collected their monies, and just put it in the backseat of the car. So boom, they smash the small glass, the pivoted glass at the back, and they're in your vehicle. Some of these glasses are not even attached to the alarm, so they can smash that, get in, or by the time the alarm starts, they get in and out and are gone. Nobody knows who or where. Look out too for persons, because remember, we're still in the COVID season. So people will wear masks, and it's normal, don't it? Look out for those persons who have on the baseball hat plus mask. So the only thing you can see are their two eyes. Become suspicious immediately and get out of their presence, right? For persons online who do business, make sure, I'm seeing the banks doing it, once you come there, no matter how you have COVID or you try to hide yourself from COVID, take down the mask and make we see your face. Take off the hat, take off the shades, make we see your eyes, show yourself to the camera, and then you can come in and do business. If a person refuses, do not allow them entrance to your property, because it is that they have other intentions than to do business, right? We want the Christmas to be safe for everybody. For the children, if you have to take them out, because you know, new Christmas Eve is always a big thing, and everybody wants to come into Maple, everybody wants to come into the town center. We have to be very careful though. We have had instances where children have become lost. They have become disassociated from their parents, their caregivers, the guardian, because the place is very, very, very busy and hectic. We normally say to persons, once you see a child, that child looks to have been disoriented, looks to have been disassociated from his or her parents, then please don't just walk past them. Find out who they are, find out what's happening. And then if there's a police post in the town, take the child to the police post, take the child to a police officer if you see any of them in the town, or you take the child to the nearest police station in the town. If you miss your child, go to the nearest police station. Or in Maple, go to the Maple police station. Lionel Town the same. Frankfield, Kellits might be a little far, but you're going to have to go to Crofts Hill, which is a distance from the police station. All right, but our officers will be in the town, so find one of them and take the child there. And the person who missed, please go to one of the officers to ensure the children are okay. Don't give your child a whole heap of money if you're going to the town. In fact, don't give your child any money. Because when they go into the town, they have become so caught up with the everything pretty and nice. They don't even remember that they are not to take money out of their pockets. So let's say, for instance, you give them $3,000-$4,000. So they just take out everything. How much you say feed again? $200. And they check out the $200 and give you and put back the rest in them pockets. You don't know who is watching your child, so don't do that. Right? Please ensure you go with them, and whatever it is that they are purchasing, you purchase it. Use the businesses that have access to card. So it means, therefore, that you may have a challenge with those who are on the streets. Or if you have to go on the streets to purchase something, because our vendors, we want to ensure that they're also making a living. I'm going to ask you right now, do not buy from those who are vending in the no vending zones. There will be areas that are designated. Some streets may, like we have done in previous years, be locked off, and those are designated vending areas. You can go to those spaces and shop. If you're going there, don't expect them to use card though. So have very little cash on you if you have to purchase from these people. But don't expose yourself, because you don't know who the persons are that are watching you. Don't have $3,000 in the bottom of your purse, and so you dig up everything. So your expensive cell phone come up, your bank cards come up, everything else come up on the top, because you search for $3,000 under the bottom. They want to ensure that you have your money very handy, an accessible point. So you just go for it right away. You need $1,000, you go down, you pick up $1,000 and come up, so people don't know what you have or how much you have. Try not to expose yourself in any way, shape, or form. And we ask you, please, we want to ensure that discipline, law and order is maintained in the town, in each of the township, and Mapen in particular, because that's where the greater number of persons are gathered. We want to ensure that discipline is maintained here, and you've got to help us. We can't take all the persons off the street who are vending in no-zone areas. We've tried, but we cannot do that. It's not possible, because we don't have space over the station to lock up everybody. We don't have sufficient police officers to do that either. But guess what? One of the quickest ways for them to move into the vending, the areas designated for vending, is when we, the members of the public, decide that, listen me, the only place I'm going to shop is in the vending space. Some man come on the street with him fandangles and do him thing. If nobody buys from him, he will not stay there, because the worst thing for him is to go home without making a sale. And if him realize that those in the designated spots are making sale and he's not making any, he's going to go into the designated spots. So I'm going to ask you, please, to ensure that you help us to keep our towns safe, that you help us to keep our towns in order. We need everybody. And the police alone, we will not be able to do it. But if you give us your support, it's full time. It's full time that we get on the side of law and order. Let us change the narrative, my people. Let us change the narrative where we have the police as the oppressors, or we have the police as them over the so. Or we have the police as you can't give them no information because them are going to tell back the people themselves. For too long, the unlawful ones, for too long, the criminals have been winning. So we, the decent citizens, have to change the narrative and decide that I am going to help to make my space safe. So SOEs on top of SOEs will not help until we decide that, listen, we want a change, and I am going to act for that change. I want to wish for you all a very Merry Christmas. Please pay attention to the programs that are out there. We will be giving safety tips throughout the holiday season. Listen carefully and adhere. And listen me, if you don't have to spend 5 hours in the townships, don't do that. If you have to come, spend as little time as possible and get back home. The time when we stay in Mapen Town Center until 2 a.m., 3 a.m., just gallivanting, just carrying on. Those days are kind of over, you know. COVID-19 is still out there. Monkeypox is still out there. So we can't just carry on as though it's nothing. And for persons who will go to party, because I know the parties will be up and on in the towns, they are going to be monitored and they are going to be turned off at the appropriate time. So don't go there at 2 a.m. expecting to be partying until 5. There is no party that goes on until 5 a.m. Ordinarily, in the week, the parties are turned off at 12, and on weekends, that's Friday and Saturday, they go until 2 a.m. Other than that, you will have to, so don't go in a lack of time. because you're going to be left behind and you can be arrested. You can be arrested, you know. And the promoters know that they will be arrested. The selectors know they will be arrested. So don't go there and get yourself in trouble because you're only going to be left inconvenienced. If you want to enjoy the public holiday, we did have SOE. That's what it's called again. I want the right word for SOE. Whatever it is. SOAP.
State of emergencies.
Thank you very much. State of public emergencies. Thank you so much. So we did have one. It stopped as of 12 this morning. So right now we're back to normal. But as I said, you will see our numbers out there. I must quickly say also that we are getting tremendous support from the members of the Jamaica Defense Force. We have been working together for some time, and that will continue. So we're trying to make your space safe. You can do your business and do it in at least an environment is safe. But as I'm asking again that you help us to make it safe. Get on the side of law and order, and let's move on with making our parish best place to do business, to raise family. Those of us who are near and dear to retire, where we can go home and rest. I bless you all, and I hope that you all will have a wonderful holidays. If I speak with you again, if I don't see you again, all the best, and God bless you.
Thank you so very much, DSP. Well said, very clear. And I hope that everybody was listening very clearly to the tips that were given, to the warnings that were given to us. And we just want to make sure that at the end of the day, we have a very peaceful and festive Christmas holiday. So let's all encourage each other to adhere to law and order. I don't know if there are any questions for DSP. Are there any questions? One person said in chat that funny enough, I think she was talking about maybe robberies or so on. Funny enough, it's both crowd and non-crowd that things can happen, even walking from a certain area in the town. So yes, you have to be very conscious right now. Look around you and be very conscious of what is happening.
Very much. I think there's a hand from Hector Fagan.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Fagan.
Good night, sir. Is there any plans to alleviate the traffic that's coming through the bridge? Because I've seen a lot of traffic lately. I mean, you know.
Yes,
I'd like to know if there's any plan to alleviate that traffic.
That's a very narrow bridge. I think Mapen has grown past that bridge, leaps and bounds. So, but of course, there are plans to make sure that at least persons can traverse a little smoother. So as we get closer into the season, we are meeting with the municipal council, and we will be putting some things in place, and you will hear time, what will be happening. But as I said to you, if you don't have to, please just stay home, because it can be very, very hectic.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Any other questions for DSPs here right now? So if you have any burning questions, any burning issues that you want to talk to him about, he's right here. Okay, I'm getting some thank yous. Thank you, sir.
You're most welcome. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the heads up, Mr. Brown. Thank you so very much. Really clear, so true. And have yourselves a wonderful and festive holidays. Are there any other comments generally? Just want to say, generally, we need to just look out for each other, be our brothers' keepers, look out for our neighbors, look out for our neighbors' children out there as we go out. They'll be getting holidays soon. Just be careful out there, and we have to really be our brothers' keepers. Mr. Hainsworth Kelly, you have your hand up, sir. Go ahead. Mr. Kelly?
Just a concern, DSP. I would have to go through Mapen on a number of occasions. One of the concern I have is that there are times when the officers are prosecuting motorists, but I know that they will park their vehicle, or they will stop their vehicle almost in the middle of the road, writing their tickets. They sometimes park the bike in the middle of the road, and it is causing more traffic congestion. I don't know if there's something that can be done for them to probably pull them over on the soft shoulder and continue with their duty. But sometimes they just stop in the middle of the road and it causes more congestion.
Of course. It something can be done. Sometimes it's the situation at the moment requires them to having blocked the part at the motorists. So having not recognized now that they are causing a congestion, sometimes they need to be reminded. So we will talk to our officers to ensure that they do everything, keep the thoroughfare clear. Thanks for that observation.
Any other comments or questions? Just getting a lot of commendations. Great presentation, very clear. All right. So thank you, DSP, but the official thanks is going to come from one of our facilitators. I know that it's getting very late. It's 8 minutes past 8, and persons have been very attentive. There's a question.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, DSP
That's Miss
Brown.
Morgan. Go ahead.
Yes. For persons who are not in Maypen and who want to report anything or call in for any reason, the usual way is through 119.
You can use 119. In fact, there are some numbers too that are answered from outside of Jamaica. 311, 811, yes, 811. Those are numbers where and persons are concerned sometimes about giving information and the issue of trust. So those numbers, nobody really care who you are, they just want the information. But I want to say to you though, that it's important that you're in touch with your local police. So the Maypen police station number is 986-2208. I'd have to go on my phone to find the Chapelton, and those are the main township, but they are listed. So get the numbers for the police station that is nearest you. If you're not getting through to any of those, then at the control center, that's the center that looks after all the stations within Area 3, Manchester, Clarendon, and St. Elizabeth. That's Area 3 control. This is the number that you need to have. 962 6647 220 2836.
2836.
Yes, those are important numbers. They have responsibility for every one of the patrols that drive in the parish.
Area 3.
Yes, yeah. Yes,
all right.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
That's helpful. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Don't be shy. All right. Going once, going twice, 3 times. All right. So we are going to close the meeting off right now. I'm going to invite Miss Samantha Akas. She's one of our facilitators out in Palmer's Cross, and I'm going to invite her to just join us right now and give the official vote of thanks.
Good night, everyone. On behalf of everyone online tonight, I just want to say thanks to Ms. Cheryl Brown from the National Council of Drug Abuse and Deputy Superintendent of Police from the Clarendon Police Division, Mr. Owen Brown. Thanks for taking the time out to bring this vital information to us. And I'm sure that the information both of you shared with us tonight was well received, and we will be putting some measures in place to help safeguard ourselves and our children from harm. Thanks again for highlighting some ways in which we can be vigilant Thanks goes out to the persons that joined us tonight online. Without you, this session would not have been possible. And I just want to say, let us continue to be vigilant parents, vigilant persons, vigilant professionals, and be good parents in everything that we do. Thank you.